Peter Simons worked tirelessly stocking shelves at the neighborhood grocery store. Despite the long hours, it was never quite enough to cover all the bills. Rent was always looming, and dreams of attending college seemed nearly out of reach. But Peter, a young man full of heart and determination, believed in kindness and lending a hand to those in need. His mother had always taught him that a small act could ripple into greatness. That chilly fall morning, he noticed an elderly woman struggling outside the store. Her shopping bags threatened to tear at the seams, and they looked far too heavy for her small frame. It was Mary Carrington, a longtime resident of the neighborhood. Peter had seen her before, quietly making her way through the store aisles, always with a gentle smile. Peter's heart pulled him towards action. He approached Mary Carrington with a warm smile. "Let me help you with those," Peter offered, already moving to take a couple of the bags from her grasp. His fingers brushed hers, cold and frail with age, and he marveled at the strength she displayed just trying to manage on her own. "Thank you, young man," Mary Carrington replied, her voice soft yet filled with gratitude. "It's rare to find such kindness these days." Peter shrugged off the compliment modestly as they began to walk together. He wasn't doing it for praise, it just felt right. As they slowly made their way down the cracked sidewalk, the cold autumn wind nipping at their ears, Peter felt a strange, comforting sense of purpose. In his heart, he knew he couldn't solve his financial problems overnight, but helping others felt like a step in the right direction. As they walked, Peter learned a bit about Mary Carrington. She chatted about her late husband, Dave Carrington, and about how she missed their long walks around the neighborhood when the leaves turned golden. Her words warmed the chilly air between them, painting vivid pictures of shared laughter, love, and memories. By the time they reached her small, cozy house with the peeling paint and an abundance of potted plants lining the steps, Peter found he was already missing her company. He took a moment to absorb the warmth of the home that stood testament to a lifetime of love and care. "You're a good boy," Peter Simons, Mary Carrington said as he set the bags inside her small kitchen. The compliment made him smile, his cheeks pink from more than just the cold. As Peter Simons walked back to the grocery store that afternoon, he thought about how simple actions could make him feel rich in ways that money couldn't touch. Mary had seemed genuinely touched by his help, and that was the kind of wealth he adored, not in things, but in the hearts he could touch. Peter never imagined that this simple, instinctive gesture would lead to anything other than a good feeling. Life had a way of surprising him, though, and in the weeks to follow, that simple act of kindness would envelop him in an unexpected and life-changing journey. In what he thought was just a brief exchange of kindness, Mary Carrington had seen something in Peter Simons, a spark of empathy and sincerity that was all too rare. And as life would have it, that spark was going to illuminate his path in the most unforeseen ways. As Peter Simons walked away from Mary Carrington's house that afternoon, he couldn't shake the warmth he felt. It wasn't just the chill starting to ebb from his bones, but a deeper sense of having done something that mattered. The simple gratitude in Mary's eyes had filled him with an unexpected sense of purpose, reminding him that his struggles weren't the only ones in the world. Throughout the afternoon at the neighborhood grocery store, Peter found himself reflecting on that moment. He wondered how he might continue to make a difference in small ways. When the store quieted down for a bit, Peter's mind wandered to Mary Carrington's home with its peeling paint and assortment of potted plants. He imagined the stories contained within those worn walls, stories that had played out over the years as the neighborhood shifted and changed around them. In the days that followed, Peter found himself watching for Mary Carrington whenever he stalked the aisles. He hoped to catch another glimpse of her gentle smile and lend a hand where needed. Then one afternoon, as he was tidying up the produce section, he spotted her again. "Back for more groceries," Mary Peter called out with a light-hearted tone. She didn't respond immediately, her mind evidently lost in thoughts as she tisked over the prices on the store's hand-labeled signs. "Oh, Peter, hello there," Mary Carrington greeted, visibly relieved to see a familiar face in the sea of hurried shoppers. "Yes, just picking up a few odds and ends." This time Peter didn't wait for her to ask. He grabbed a bag and followed her around the store, filling it with her selections as they went. Their conversation wove easily around the subjects of her garden, even in small concrete pots. It seemed Mary had a way of coaxing life to flourish. Peter mentioned how grateful he was that morning to see how capable she was, but Mary just waved a hand, underlining once more how the smallest act of kindness can renew one's faith in humanity. "It's people like you, Peter, who make the world a little less weary," she said earnestly. Another afternoon passed. After work, Peter once again found himself walking Mary Carrington and her filled bags to her home. He felt almost as much at home there now as he did in his own space. The comforting clutter of treasured memories made the house glow with life, despite the wear of the years. One day, as they reached Mary's door, she hesitated, not opening it right away. Peter wondered if she had misplaced her keys and was about to ask when she turned to him with an unexpected intensity in her kind eyes. "Peter, I've been watching you," she began. "Not just what you've done for me, but how you are with others. Your heart, my dear boy, it shines through." Peter shuffled his feet, feeling heat creep up the back of his neck. "I just try to help, you know," he answered, scratching his head. "You do more than try," Mary Carrington replied, "and because of that, I want to help you too." He didn't understand what she meant by this, but before he could ask, Mary pressed on. "You remind me of my late husband, Dave. Generous and kind-hearted. He always believed in investing in people who do good for no other reason than because it's right." Peter felt a mix of emotions swirling inside him. He was flattered, yet unsure where this conversation was leading. Yet Mary's words about Dave warmed him like a hot cup of tea on a cold morning. From then on, Peter's after-work routine began to change. He often accompanied her on her shopping trips and helped with her garden whenever he could. Each visit became a story of its own, every exchange of kindness growing a bond between them as if it were a plant taking root in fertile soil. One evening, as they sat on her porch sipping tea and watching the sun dip below the horizon, Mary revealed more about her life with Dave. About the scholarship fund they had established many years ago to help young people make a difference. The fund had supported many students in achieving their dreams, a fact that filled the aging woman with pride. Peter listened intently, something inside him stirring. The thought that people like Mary and Dave had dedicated their lives to helping others inspired him deeply. There was something profoundly powerful in their legacy. It was as if they had planted seeds that continued to bloom long after they were gone. Although Peter had never explicitly mentioned his own aspirations to Mary, she seemed to understand his struggles. Helping her, he'd learned, was a double-edged blessing. While he felt more fulfilled, his financial burdens still loomed. College seemed as distant as ever, a luxury he couldn't afford. Little did Peter know that just as he was contemplating how to balance his newfound purpose with his continuing financial woes, Mary Carrington was already crafting a way to make his dreams just a bit more reachable. Without a single word, she was weaving something unseen that would soon unveil itself, influencing Peter's life in ways he couldn't imagine. In Mary's heart, a plan was unfolding, and it was guided by the very values she held dear throughout her life, the belief in the goodness she had recognized in Peter from the moment he had offered to carry her bags. As Peter and Mary lingered on the porch that peaceful evening, sipping tea and sharing stories of kindness, the world outside seemed to pause. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun sank behind the horizon, leaving a gentle glow in the sky, an unspoken connection weaving them together. The crisp air carried with it a promise of change, a testament to the ripple of love and generosity being born through their friendship. The days passed in gentle rhythm. Peter continued helping Mary whenever he could, the mutual support they fostered becoming an integral part of his routine. It was a simple, heartfelt connection that brought meaning to his life beyond the walls of Mark's Market and the mounting bills at home. One chilly afternoon, as Peter was placing yet another box of canned goods on the shelf, Mr. Emmett, the jovial store owner, approached him with a warm smile. Mr. Emmett was known for his fatherly presence in the store, often sharing words of wisdom with all the employees. He stopped beside Peter, observing him for a moment. "You know, Peter, kindness like yours doesn't go unnoticed," Mr. Emmett said, nudging your shoulder playfully. "Mary Carrington has been singing your praises all over town. Says you've been an angel." Peter felt a blush creep up his neck. "I'm just doing what feels right," he replied modestly, ducking his head. "Well, whatever it is you're doing, it's making a difference," Mr. Emmett continued. "Mary Carrington is someone special around these parts, and what you've done for her means a lot." As the afternoon turned into evening, Peter made his way to Mary's house once again. His mind was still turning over Mr. Emmett's words. The thought that small acts of kindness could create such a ripple effect filled him with a warm sense of purpose. It was evident to him now that helping people wasn't just an immediate gesture, but something that could resonate far beyond his own small world. When he arrived, Mary welcomed him with her usual warm smile. Yet today there was something different in her gaze and earnestness that went beyond their usual exchanges. Inviting him into her living room, she offered him a seat at the round table, a space rich with worn storybooks and framed photographs. "There's something I want to share with you," Mary began, her tone both serious and kind. "You see, your kindness has set in motion more than you could ever imagine." From a small box on the table, Mary brought out an envelope and handed it to Peter. Confused but intrigued, Peter accepted it cautiously, his fingers brushing the soft paper. As he opened it and saw the check within, his eyes widened in disbelief. It was a check made out for $5,000, far beyond what he could have ever expected. "Mary, I don't understand," Peter stammered, shock written across his features. His heart raced as the numbers on the check began to sink in. "Let's just say this is a token of appreciation," Mary explained gently. "Dave and I set up a fund for this very reason, to help those who do good without expecting anything in return." "That's you, Peter." Peter could scarcely breathe, the enormity of what lay before him leaving him speechless. Tears sparkled at the corners of his eyes. The financial clouds overshadowing his dream of attending college began to part, possibilities blooming where before there had been none. "I couldn't take this," Peter tried, but Mary laid a gentle hand on his, her eyes firm and kind. "You've earned this, Peter. It's your turn to see where kindness can take you," she insisted, leaving him no room for refusal. From that moment, the financial transformation that had earlier seemed impossible for Peter began to take root. With the funds Mary had given him, his dreams of college felt closer than ever before. Not coincidentally, Mr. Emmett offered Peter more hours at the store, recognizing the dedication and heart Peter put into his job and further providing stability for his family. Through these moments of personal growth, Peter realized the power of the connections he was building. He saw how the little acts of kindness he planted grew into opportunities and hope not only for himself but for everyone around him. And in that illumination of giving, Peter's mother, Linda, saw a change in her son, a newfound lightness in his step, and a determination she knew was born from his persistent kindness. Peter's journey also inspired Linda in her work at Sunnyside Eats. With Peter's reassurance and financial breathing room from his extra hours and Mary's gift, she felt less burdened and more open to change. Her co-workers, now aware of the Harris family's plight through Peter's spreading good cheer, rallied around her with small acts of their own, covering shifts when needed, offering carpool rides, even providing meals. It wasn't long before the entire community began to feel the ripple effects of Peter's initial act of kindness. The small, interconnected actions among neighbors and friends stitched a bond that gave each person something to believe in. As the autumn days began to turn chilly, Peter found himself thinking often about Mary and Dave's belief in him. This faith propelled him forward, allowing him to dream big and know the strength of standing with his community. His heart brimmed with gratitude, and his steps toward the future felt steeped in possibilities. And so, the simple act of helping Mary Carrington became more than just a memory. It became a catalyst for change, igniting a path lined with hope and the promise that kindness, no matter how small, has the power to transform everything. As the warm comfort of Mary Carrington's living room enveloped Peter Simons, he held the check with a profound sense of disbelief. The reality of its significance solidified in his mind like a tangible promise. Mary's generosity had injected new life into his aspirations, adding colors to dreams that had seemed perpetually muted by financial constraints. With gratitude as his guide, Peter knew there was much more to this than just a fortunate financial turn. It was about relationships, about the unseen ties that bound him to others in profound and lasting ways. The following morning, Peter sat with his mother, Linda, at their kitchen table. The check lay between them, a symbol of much more than financial aid. It represented hope and faith. Linda, eyes moist with unshed tears, looked at her son with pride. She saw the man he was becoming, how the experiences at Mark's Market and his bond with Mary had helped him grow. "Peter, this is amazing," Linda said. Unable to contain her emotion, "Mary and Dave really see something special in you." Peter nodded, his heart full. "Mary and Dave were incredible for doing this, but it just feels like the beginning somehow. Like I need to use this chance to create something meaningful." Their immediate plan was to ensure the check was deposited safely to help cushion their expenses and set aside funds for college. Yet even as it eased the burden, Peter remained determined to give back. Inspired by Mary's legacy, he felt a budding urge to contribute more actively within his community. As days transitioned smoothly into weeks, Peter balanced the store work with newfound duties at a local youth center. Here, in this extended community, he began volunteering to help kids with their schoolwork, subtly passing on the generosity he had received. His understanding that a simple gift of time and attention could alter paths, just as Mary's kindness had for him, became clear and empowering. Mary Carrington, in the meantime, had become more than a recipient of his compassion. She was a mentor and confidante. Their bond continued to grow deeper, knit by shared stories and mutual respect. Her tales of past community projects and her tireless work with Dave left a lasting impression on Peter, and soon enough he found himself inspired to create change in his immediate world. One misty autumn afternoon, as Peter and Mary sipped tea on her porch, a familiar theme crept into their conversation: the power of kindness. Mary began quietly, her voice as calming as the gentle mist hanging in the air. "You have so much ahead of you. The way you've chosen to use what you've been given, it's remarkable. You're becoming a beacon, you know." Peter shifted slightly, always humbled by her praise but encouraged nonetheless. "I just want to pay forward what you've given me, Mary. It feels only right to continue what you and Dave championed." Mary reached over, patting his hand with warmth that radiated grace. "That's all we ever hoped for, dear, a continuation. Someone who sees even the smallest act of kindness as a seed that can grow beyond its initial intention." This ongoing mentorship helped Peter weave together new plans. With college on the horizon, he also began drafting ideas for a community garden, inspired by Mary's stories of her efforts alongside Dave. It felt like a fitting tribute, a connector of past kindness with a future aim of bringing people together. Every weekend, Peter shared these ideas with his mother, who was fully supportive and actively offered her insights. Their home now buzzed with excitement for the garden, inspiring a shift from mere survival to flourishing. The foundation of security combined with their shared dream for the garden sparked newfound hope and ambition. One crisp evening, as they both sat down after dinner, Peter laid out his vision for the garden with boundless enthusiasm. "Mom, it'll be a place for everyone. A place for people to come together, to grow and learn from one another." Linda's eyes sparkled with the same excitement. "Peter, that sounds perfect. I can see how much this means to you, and I'm proud of the person you're becoming." As the plans for the garden unfolded, Peter received assistance and guidance from Mr. Emmett, who was an eager cheerleader for Peter's endeavors. His experience and connection with the community were invaluable, providing both practical advice and a supportive network when Peter needed it most. With each passing day, the notion of the garden became not just Peter's dream, but a community project. Volunteers of all ages pitched in when they could, offering their skills and enthusiasm. Neighbors who had once been strangers now came together, united by the idea that each small seed could spawn relationships and growth just as meaningful as the plants. Throughout this transformative journey, Peter made it a point to involve Mary in every step, seeking her advice and sharing their combined vision for the garden. And in those small, cherished moments, Mary's eyes danced with pride and satisfaction, heartened by the promise of continuity and the selfless spirit she and Dave cherished. One bustling afternoon, as the garden was coming together, Peter paused and observed the unfolding scene before him. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden hue over the garden plots. Laughter rang out amongst family and friends, and people were eagerly exchanging seeds and stories, moments rich with camaraderie and warmth. It was here, in the heart of this blooming space, Peter felt Dave and Mary's legacy coming to fruition. As dusk stretched into evening, Peter sat with Mary on a garden bench. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves and flowers around them, infused with the musky scent of damp soil and blossoming life. The fulfillment in his heart reflected in the contentment in Mary's eyes, both looking out upon the vibrant testament of unity and benevolence they had nurtured together. "It's all so beautiful," Mary murmured, taking in the living testament of community and care. "Dave would be as proud as I am of what you've built." Peter nodded, touched by her words and the feelings of completeness they instilled. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mary. You believed in me, and that made all the difference." In that moment, Peter realized the full extent of what kindness could yield. Starting as a small, instinctive gesture, it had unfurled into something vast and far-reaching. The community garden stood as a symbol of the change one person could inspire, building bridges between people and creating harmony where before there had been only distant neighbors. It was more than an achievement, it was a promise to continue nurturing the ripples of generosity that Mary and Dave had begun. In the presence of twilight, as participants gradually drifted home, Peter understood fully that simple acts of kindness could indeed change everything. His journey had come full circle, initiated by Mary's appreciation and belief in him. The garden symbolized his gratitude to her, embodying the widespread change their bond had inspired. And under the glow of soft evening stars, Peter's heart swelled with assurance that no matter where life might lead, the energy of their collective courage and kindness would perpetually guide his path. The garden would remain a living reminder of what love, community, and the power of one small act could cultivate, leading to a rich tapestry of connections, dreams realized in the soil.